I've had a very long, rich, and complicated history with Ragtime. I was in the original pre-Broadway tryout of the production when I was 11 in Toronto. And I played the little boy, and I was there with, the OGs, Audra McDonald, Brian Stokes Mitchell, Peter Friedman, Marin Mazzie. It was an incredible experience. And ultimately, they ended up moving the show to Broadway without me, which was incredibly crushing. But and now it's come full circle almost 30 years later. And I get to play a part now that feels so much more aligned with my identity, my family, my ancestors. It's just been a wild, surreal experience to revisit the show as an adult. I actually don't know what my life would have looked like had that happened. And that was all I wanted as a kid, and I couldn't imagine anything else. But now, at this point, I actually can't imagine it having gone the other way. I've had such an incredible, lucky, rich career so far that I'm so grateful for and proud of. And I'm just really happy to be in this moment with these two and this incredible cast in this production.
I was thinking of Ragtime, it seems to me, is about sort of hope and heartbreak kind of coming together. And you had your own sort of individual saga leading up to this.
Yeah, I guess I've never really thought about it in those terms, but I had my own sort of personal Ragtime story or personal Ragtime arc. That's just been one of the lessons, I think, of this whole thing is, patience is important, hope is important, and heartbreak is also important. These are all sort of things that coexist, and you sort of can't have dark without light and all of these different things. And
patience and resilience, that's a big part of being an actor, right?
Maybe the biggest?
Mm-hmm, I think so. I think it's the biggest part of having a long career is patience and resilience, and having that ability to let things roll off your back even when they cut a little deep. Because you just never know what's around the corner. You never know what's coming your way next.
And even to get good at something, right? It's the songs that we sing, the characters we play, just say vocally, being bad at something for a year, trying to sing a section of something, going, cracking, failing over and over again, and having the, patience with yourself to be this is what it takes. A long time. The three of us have been in this business for 20 years each.
That's right.
And we didn't get good at year 2. I mean, maybe y'all did, but...
No,
No, absolutely not. And the other thing is you have to have patience throughout. There will be moments in our careers and in our lives where we're bad at something and we put in the work to get better at it.
This is one of the reasons I love doing 8 shows a week, and I love being a Broadway theater actor, a lifer theater person, is that you get a new chance every show to reinvestigate, to double down, to try again, to fix, to play. And it's very much like yoga, where you're doing the same poses every day, but it's different every day because you're different every day. And that's the beauty of being a theater person, We get on that stage and we try again, and we do it for a fresh crop of people. Sometimes we got some repeats in the audience, and that's beautiful too, and they get to kind of grow with us as we inhabit these characters and live with them for a while. But there's something incredibly satisfying and challenging about that sort of showing up every day and doing it again.
Joshua, were you familiar with Ragtime? Was this sort of on your wish list?
Yeah. In 2002, when I was at the University of Miami studying musical theater, it was one of the first cast recordings I came across. And I remember thinking, I want to be a part of epic storytelling like that. I want to be one of those performers that makes people feel deep feelings.
Audra, I remember her performance from the out-of-town tryout because I was in 9th grade, grade 9 as we say in Canada.
Right, growing up in Canada, sure.
Yep, when I saw Ragtime, and I was just utterly enamored with Audra, and I waited for her after the show, and she kindly came out and chatted with me. And now she's my friend, our kids are friends, her husband's one of my dear friends, I've worked with him 3 times. And it's just so funny the way, again, a life in the theater can go, because your heroes can become your colleagues, can become your coworkers, you know? And that performance is just so etched in my mind. And it's funny to me now, as a mother myself, playing this role of mother, that was not the part that I connected to as a young person. And yet now...
Which part did you connect
I
to?
connected to Sarah. I was all about Audra. And now, of course, that's a role I'm never gonna play, but a role that I was so spellbound by her. And to now get to revisit Ragtime and fall in love with it through the lens of mother, and this character that I get to play has been so deep and rich for me.
So you saw it on stage, were captivated, you heard the cast recording, you were riveted, you were in it. So you all have these very emotional connections, it sounds like, to the show. When this show talked to Terrence McNally back in 1998, he said that the appeal of this show, he thought, was that it was a show of big feelings. Can we talk about that? Because not all shows are shows with big feelings. Is that the appeal of this?
I think that's one of the big successes of this book and this story, is that it catches people at their extremes. And I think that, you know, Tasha trying to find a new life, mother questioning hers, Colehouse trying to find his love and getting sidetracked by crazy situations. And that's what I think audiences really love to see. You know, it's the highs and lows. Colehouse, for instance, you know, we seem so hopeful at the beginning. And then at something happens where he turns into literally a killer.
He's shattered.
He's shattered. His world is shattered. And how do we reckon with seeing someone like that? Like, what are the circumstances? What's the betrayal that has happened to bring someone to those complete opposites? That's what I think, those are the things that bring an audience in and that make us feel like, oh, that actually could be me. That I felt that before.
The thing that I think Ragtime does so beautifully is it's able to at once hold all of these big universal themes, worldly, national themes, and it can, in the same beat, the same scene, zoom in on something completely small and intimate and just between 2 people, a parent and their child, you know, a mother and a father. You know, I like to think of Tata's journey sort of as the flip of Colehouse's journey. We see him sort of in the pits of despair and watch him create a life for himself. That sort of ends in Act 2 with exuberance, right? I mean, Buffalo Nickel is such an expression of exuberant joy. Our Children is such an expression of hope, I think, for future generations. It holds nuance and grandeur at once. And I think that is what people really respond to, is it really like cracks you open and makes you feel big feelings, but also allows you to reflect internally with those smaller sort of nuanced relationships and feelings.
What's it like to be in a show with a big cast?
It's a thrill. I mean, this company is stacked with actors and singers and dancers who are at the top of their game, and they all have moments of brilliance where they get featured. And it's a lot of people in the building, to be sure, and it's a lot of people on stage, so it's a challenge, but it's so exciting because I think audiences have in recent years been used to a smaller, more intimate experience, and this music and this story and these feelings, as you said, beg for something epic and huge. And so to be able to deliver that with this huge company is exciting for us. I mean, we begin the show all together as a company rising up from the ground. It's so rare in a Broadway show to start the top of the show all together as one unit. Sometimes you're meeting someone that day in a scene that you haven't seen yet backstage. So the fact that we all get to look each other in the eye and load onto this elevator and rise up to this epic music and begin to tell the story and like commune with the audience in this en masse, it's so thrilling for us as actors, never mind the effect it has on the audience. And I think that's what causes them to applaud and cheer right away. It's like, oh, this is an event.
For people who don't know the show, what do you tell them Ragtime is about?
I would say it's about three distinct groups of people coming together in America and the ways in which their lives intersect and the way that in their individual pursuit of the American dream for themselves, the way it changes someone else's pursuit of their American dream, the way it changes the course of history. And it broadens and opens their eyes and wakes them up to maybe a world they hadn't expected. So like in my case, playing Mother, we meet her at the top of the show, incredibly comfortable in her house on the hill in New Rochelle with her husband. She enjoys taking care of the home. She has a inkling of something more. She has a desire to have an adventure, but she doesn't yet know what that is. And over the course of the show, she meets Sarah, she meets Kohlhaas, she meets Tate. She is changed, and changed so deeply that she has to make changes in her own life. And she becomes a woman over the course of the story and steps into her power and is changed forever. And that's true of every single character in Ragtime.
And you have this big, is it a 10 o'clock or an 11 o'clock number?
11 o'clock.
Okay, right.
But there's two 11 o'clock numbers in this
Right.
show, which,
Sure,
as
of
our
course.
dear friend Shayna Taub, who plays Emma Goldman, says, that it shouldn't really work that there's two 11 o'clock
Right, make
numbers.
them hear you and back to before.
But it works in Ragtime.
So, back to before, how would you describe it? Is that a song of evolution? What is it?
I think it's a song of active realization is how I would describe it. It's a moment when I think we've all felt a huge shift in our lives where like the wind gets knocked out of you, and in real time you have to process and pivot and make hard decisions and parent yourself into the next phase of your life. And I think that's very much what Mother is doing in that song. I think she is realizing the sadness and the pain that comes with saying goodbye to a certain part of yourself, but that with that comes power and agency and a fearlessness to step into the next phase of your life. And oftentimes there is that duality of joy and pain and comfort and discomfort, and I think that's very much what's being explored.
I remember when the original production opened, so much talent involved, and it gained a big following. This production, something different seems to be happening. I mean, it's not only the critical acclaim, people are really kind of going nuts for it. So I'm not just asking you to compliment yourselves. What is it? What's going on? Why is this happening now, this reaction?
If I may, all three of us have done original works and revivals.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to revivals, why they resonate at a certain time is due to what's going on in the world. And that's the reason to revive something in the first place, is to examine a piece of writing from a time past that somehow seems to resonate now in a new way. And that is very much what is happening with Ragtime, and I think why Ragtime is having a moment right now. You know, our world and our country, it's very fractured right now. And the themes and the stories and the characters in Ragtime are represented out in the street.
And what about the two of you? What is it about now that's making this hit?
Two things for me. The fact that it's just the three of us, and we're not the only three in the cast who this is like a dream show of ours, and we had such a deep history with it, we feel a responsibility in a way to serve that that thing that we've loved so much, and the art form that we've loved so much in this show. I don't like to compare time periods, but in a way that was probably different for Brian Stokes Mitchell and Audra, and this was this new piece of work that they knew was so important. But we've got to sit with that, and we've marinated with that. On top of that, we know so much more about, because of social media, the things that we face as Americans and all around the world. And I think our society today has a lot more of that readily available. So when audiences sit down now with a piece that is about showing us who we are, we know a lot more about who we are, and that's at the top of our psyches right now. And that combination of the responsibility that we feel and the shoulders that we stand on and the awareness that's out there about this resonant story makes it just like this combustion that happens from stage to the audience every night at the Vivian Beaumont, I think.
As a culture, I think our eyes are a little more open than maybe they were in the late 90s, for better or for worse. We have more access to information. We have everybody has a camera in their pocket. We all are exposed to America en masse and all of the issues and the themes that Ragtime talks about are like crackling in reality. And I think people are surprised that, I think there's a feeling that we all tend to hold on to in moments like this where we're like, it's never been this bad. And I think people get surprised by the fact that this takes place in the early 1900s and we're still going through the same things. The themes are still as resonant and fresh and real outside the theater as they are inside this revival that we're doing. I play a Jewish immigrant from Eastern Europe, but I think so much of the immigration story is speaking to people right now because of the immigration issues happening in our country literally at this moment.
Also, just to take it outside of like theater for a second, to basketball, there was a moment where
That's my
Dwayne
jam.
Wade, Bosch, and LeBron James were all on different teams, right? And they had been very successful in their own careers. And then they came together on the Miami Heat. And then they won, I think, 2 or 3 championships. I will say and acknowledge that this is like the three of us and everyone on that cast doesn't happen often.
Are we in the NBA?
We are now officially in the NBA. I mean, we look at each other backstage and we're like, this just doesn't happen.
No.
It doesn't happen.
Special.
We have all led shows for 20 years. And so I think it's a rare thing when people that have had this much experience land on a stage together. That's part of the specialness of this production.
Wheels of a Dream, a lot of people know that song. First, I have to ask, you're the father of small children. Have you ever almost accidentally started singing Wheels on the Bus?
Absolutely not where I thought that was going.
No. I don't think I haven't turned that corner.
Because it would be great to hear you sing it.
Mo, you just put a thought in my head.
That's
I'm
right.
like,
You've planted the seed now.
no, but when I say Wheels of a Dream, I do think about my boys because, well, to what you were saying, before I come to theater every day, I drop them off at the bus stop, or at least my oldest, and I see Samson going on the bus, and I go, and he's in the window, he's going like, and I'm like, sometimes I look at Catherine, my wife, and I'm like, there's our first little dream. That was the first time we dreamed that deeply. And so I think about that when I sing that song. And it's crazy that little moment, I think about it at the theater when the orchestra is blaring and Nichelle and I are saying, and he will ride on the Wheels of a Dream with full confidence and faith and hope. He is evidence of that dream. As Catherine and I are, from very different places.
You and your wife.
Yeah. But we've come together to make this dream that is now bringing joy and living and thriving in the world. So that's one of the moments that is really surreal to me, singing the song. The smile on my face at the end of that number is pretty genuine.
You sing it magnificently. And even though if you're a first-time watcher, you don't know what's going to happen, it's not just an optimistic song, right? Is there a little bit of a sort of a foreboding because most people know what life was like for Black Americans early in the 20th century.
I think that's one of the heartbreaking aspects of that joyous moment is we're in around 1908.
Right.
And you're like, wow, how can someone be so hopeful? How can this Black man and woman be so hopeful about what they don't see? And I think that is what I love the verse, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. You must have that if you want to move forward in the world. You've got to believe in something, a better day, like the writers of Ragtime did, like Martin Luther King did. If you don't have that hope, what do you have?
And that's the opposite of cynicism.
Yeah.
To me, it seems like that idea, that sentiment, that tone is just grabbing people.
We need it like we need our next breath. We need that. I think hope it's like the middle finger to cynicism. Like, that's what it is. It's like, I see you, but I raise you some joy. I raise you some possibility.
No. And then, Brandon, you sing Gliding.
Yeah.
And you sing it to your daughter.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful.
Thanks.
how did you connect to that song? What is the thrust for you of that song?
It's that hope. It's the idea that there has to be a better future for my daughter. But what I find so incredible about that moment, and this is, again, speaking to the universal versus the intimate, that moment is an inflection point for him and his daughter. That's when everything changes. And everything changes out of him literally just trying to comfort his daughter and make her feel less afraid. And he uses his art to do that. And he realized, and the trajectory of his and his daughter's life completely changes in this one moment of him just trying to get her to stop crying and to feel that hope. And that's the thing. I mean, speaking of cynicism and hope, I personally can tend to lean towards cynicism. It's hard not to right now. It really is, at least for me. I just find it very difficult to hang on to that bit of hope sometimes. And Tata never lets that go, ever. And gliding is like the epitome of that. That I can choose to fall into the depths of despair, or I can be a hero for my daughter and show her that there is possibility. And surprise, there is.
I just realized, going back to your whole journey with Ragtime,
Yeah.
for this really to be full circle, Paul Dano needs to follow you in the role.
Paul Dano as Tata is a choice. And maybe he'll do the tour. Do you think Paul Dano is available for the tour?
And because Paul Dano was in the role in Toronto.
Yeah.
And Joshua, do you still want to play Sidney Poitier?
I would love to. His book is in my dressing room right now. So whoever's not writing that script, get to writing it. I love Sidney Poitier. And since I was a kid, people are telling me, you actually give me Sidney Poitier vibes. So
No, and I see that, but I'm being presumptuous if I say, you could also play Paul Robeson.
Mo, don't play with me. I mean,
Because
as a singer, as someone
activist.
who's got an athletic background, just the melding of those two things, he's a hero of mine for sure.
They need to do it as a
Yes.
musical, because it was a play, I think, with Chambers Earl Jones. But
right,
but they need to do it as a musical.
Yeah. Maybe a play with music.
I'm here for it.
What are people telling you about why they like the show?
I felt the gamut of emotions. I laughed uncontrollably. I cried uncontrollably. I was taken to another world.
I'm hearing a lot from people, especially from women, who are maybe thought mother faded into the background before and now really see this feminist story come through and this matriarch, and sort of view mother as the lens through which the audience learns about all of these communities. And that has been really surprising and interesting to me because, again, I connected to Sarah as a young person when I saw Ragtime. And it's only now in performing the role that I really feel like the depth and the resonance of every choice mother makes along the way. So that's been really interesting to hear people just rediscover the writing, to really understand Cole House as a man, as a father, and the difficult choices and the imperfect choices he may make. And the same thing with Tata. I think the immigrant story, as Brandon said, is so at the forefront of our world right now that people are connecting to Tata and his daughter in a way that they hadn't previously. And so everything just feels very present and alive.
I don't know that it's necessarily explicitly said out loud, but what I'm translating from folks and the feedback that I get is that they're just really, really grateful to have a space to have some sort of catharsis and a vessel in which to put the feelings that they're feeling about existing in the world right now. I think it can be really confusing. I think people don't know whether to feel hopeful, to feel desperate, to feel galvanized, to feel, like they want to take action. I think everybody is just really holding on to emotions in a really tight way. And I
They
think
just want to feel
They just
something.
want to feel something. They want to have that catharsis, and I think it gives meaning and definition to those feelings for them, and it like gives them order in some way.